Hi, I'm Maddie at Query. Most customer success teams track first response time in some way. The problem is it's usually only averaged or filed off into a separate area, and it's really hard to get into the actual details of the data and also make that process replicable. I'm going to show you how to do that through Query in about 10 minutes. So to get started, let's connect our data. So I have our FRT agents right here, channels, and tickets. So now that our data is loaded in, we can see a comprehensive view of 750 tickets handled by 10 agents across 3 channels. So there's a lot we can look into here. This is the top performer. Phone delivers the fastest service. But first, let's start computing FRTs to really get into the data. So I'm told to compute FRT for each ticket as first, apply, timestamp, minus created timestamp. I'm told to exclude any tickets where first reply is missing or null. These are bot handled or auto closed and shouldn't count towards averages. Now we can see that our data set is ready and we can start looking into averages or correlations and start getting some visuals. So to start, I'm wondering if there's a correlation between breach rate, so when our FRT is just way too high, and ticket volume. So I'm just going to ask Query, is there a correlation between ticket volume and breach rate? Plot them together over the. So now that Query has done that for us, we can click in, and right here we can see our breach rate. Ticket counts doesn't really look like much for correlation here. Ticket count over time, if we compare the distributions, sometimes they look sort of correlated like right here, but they don't really necessarily look all too correlated. Right here we can plot, or we have plotted our breach rate percent and then ticket volume. Again, kind of correlated, but these spikes can just be because that's the hours of the day that we're doing customer service. So if we look back down here, Query is telling us there's really no link. There's wide variation. Right here, data is showing no correlation. So let's look more into the breaches since there's no real correlation there. Let's say break down breach rate by hour of day. Identify any peak breach windows and tell me what percentage of total breaches fall in those windows. Just so we can get a better view of what's really going on with our breaches and if we can find something that's correlated with them or what we should do. So now we can look into our breach rate by hours. We can see 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock have the highest percent, 16% of our breaches each. We can see there's a bit of a push at 1 and then spikes again at 5 at the end of the day. Essentially, we would want to look into all of these things, see maybe we don't have enough agents during this time, maybe something's going on with our product during this time, but especially these 3 hours right here, that's 45% of our total breaches occurring just in those 3 hours. And now if we look down to what Query's saying, for worst hour at 11, there's a morning surge and then sort of an afternoon spike. Maybe somehow we can take a couple agents off of the lower times, looks like 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. So now that we've investigated that, I also want to look into agents. So I'm going to ask Query, which agents have driven the most breaches? So if we look into this, we can see breaches by agent right here. We can see that James has 17 breaches, 25% breach rate, very high breach rate. Leo also with 17, 29% breach rate. Marcus with 15, 25% breach rate. And then down here we can see our agents that are performing much better, a bit of a middle ground. This sort of is showing us that maybe the issue behind a decent amount of our breaches is that we simply just need better training for our agents, at least 3, maybe 4 of them. Now, if we look right here, if we see what Query is saying, it's telling us that our top 3 offenders right here, Leo, James, and Marcus, drive 49 out of 84 total breaches. That's, way over 50% of total breaches. Not good at all. We can see that maybe we want to take some training from David for the other agents, and that workload is not necessarily the issue because ticket volumes are similar across agents, but breach rate is way higher. So now that we've looked into hour of day, looked into agents, and we've seen breaches across both of them, I'm going to ask Query what it recommends based on all the time. I'm going to make sure extended thinking is on here just so we can really go through the whole data set and figure it out. So I'm going to. So now that we've looked into agents, we've looked into hour of day, we looked into breaches across all of it. I want to ask Query what it really recommends to do based on everything it's going to say. Based on everything you have found, what are your recommendations to improve FRT performance? So now that Query's given us recommendations, it says that we need better staffing during the 9 to 11 peak window, just because that represents 59% of all of our breaches. Coach our 3 high breach agents, what we were talking about, maybe with David Park right here saying, share the David Park playbook. That was our agent that achieved the 1% breach rate across 67 tickets, so it's still a lot of tickets, but a very low breach rate. And then as far as channel goes, it's saying to overhaul email workflows, saying that email is our weakest channel, 20% breach rate with time stretching to 5.7 hours. Reviewing phone targets, phone only shows about 4% breach rate, but has a really tight 30-second target. So essentially Query is saying, is that matching customer expectations, or are we creating unnecessary pressure? Now, at this point right here, you could go and look into channels. You could look deeper into agents, or certain breach hours. Really, all you have to do to look deeper into any part of the data is just prompt Query, just ask it, and it'll tell you. Right now, I want to sort of get a presentation of everything we've seen so far that I could give to maybe a higher up or give to leadership or simply show to my team what's actually going on. So I'm going to tell Query using this orders data, generate a QBR ready presentation on FRT performance. Include key findings, trend analysis, main breach, drivers we identified, and our top recommendations for next. Now that this has been generated for us, we can go and look through it. If we press present, we can explore the findings, total breaches, total tickets. You can see the breaches are not volume driven, showing that right here. Peak windows accounting for 60% of all the breaches. Agents are breach drivers by channel. Agents with the highest breaches here, top recommendations, and the expected improvement if we do those recommendations, and then the key takeaways. So what we can do is we can download this as a PowerPoint. We can go in and edit it. It's a PDF. You could also just prompt Query right here, tell it to edit it a bit if you want to change all of it. But that's essentially just how to take your FRT tracking and turn it into a replicable process, because we can automate it right here if we wanted to do that, and do all sorts of stuff. Now, this presentation is called a query wrapped. So if you ever are working with Query and want to generate a presentation, you can just ask it to generate a presentation or generate a query wrapped, and it'll do that for you. But thanks for watching.